Hey, good morning, Liberty North AP Psych. Today is Virtual Wednesday, January 27th, and it is a snow day, kind of. So I hope you're all actually sleeping in and enjoying the day. We've kind of ruined snow days with the virtual learning now, but I hope that you can sleep in and enjoy the day and then catch this video when you can. So today is just going to be kind of a preview of journal critique assignment number 2. Okay, so I'm going to put this on, this will be on Twitter, and it's kind of on the thumbnail picture, but I'll send it out on Twitter. Okay, this is kind of what I'm going to be going down. All right, and so I'm just going to introduce and preview what you need to do for journal critique number 2. So it is due March 31st, so you got plenty of time. This is actually the easier of the 2 parts to the journal critique. Okay, but basically what you need to do is just have a completely finished and perfected critique. If you access Canvas and you go down and you hit journal critique number 2, I've kind of got it all set up so to where you have everything you need to kind of revise and correct your journal critique number 1. So if you didn't get 100 out of 100 on journal critique number 1, then you have some information that you need to go back and correct and revise. And so get journal critique number 1 perfected, revised, edited, corrected, and then all you're going to do is just slide that into APA format, which I've got resources on Canvas that can help you do that. I've got an example paper on Canvas. So, some of you who got 100 out of 100 and kind of already put it in APA format first semester, which was, a few students, then, you're only going to have about 15 minutes of work probably to do just to make sure that it's in the right APA format. Okay. All right. So first thing is access Canvas. You've got journal critique number 1, you got journal critique number 2. So click on that. And then if you go down, it kind of gives you resources, first of all, to go over journal critique number 1, which is what I'm going to talk about here, and make sure that you go down each section and make sure you have the right information, okay, and that it is explained correctly. And then do a grammar check, spelling, sentence structure, also contradiction check. So again, a lot of you, because you wrote in different groups, different people, sometimes you guys contradicted each other. So make sure you read it. Don't just read your part, but read everything as a whole. And then make sure if, different colored people need to change what they say or whatever, that you get that done. Okay. Then again, you're going to slide journal critique number 1 into APA format, which I've also got on Canvas. So I got 3 sections on the Canvas journal critique number 2. Number 1 is just a reminder of what needs to be in each section. Number 2 is a reminder of how I graded each section and what I look for. And then number 3 is the APA format. Okay. So notes on what it needs to look like and so on and so forth. And then you have your example paper. Okay. So I'm actually, as I'm filming, I'm going to be going down the assignment, okay, journal critique number 2 assignment. All right, so let's go down. All right, first step is access journal critique number 2, okay. All right, and then you need to revise and correct journal critique number 1, okay. So unless you got 100 out of 100, you had some things that you need to correct, okay. So I'm going to start with the abstract because the title page is actually, again, part of the APA format. Well, I'll start with the title page. So title page, make sure you have your running header with your page number up at the top right. Make sure you have your title of the journal, the name of the journal, the institution, and the authors. Okay, so the name of the journal is going to be the topic that's written on, like, a study of sleep's impact on intelligence. That is going to, then you're going to put Journal of Neuroscience, the authors, and then down at the bottom, you're going to put your names, all the names of the students in the color code that they wrote. Okay. All right. Then page 2 by itself is the abstract, right? And the abstract basically, there were some that were too long. So again, remember, the abstract is supposed to be very short. It's kind of just a brief introduction to the journal, a brief summary. So again, the required things that you need to cover, make sure you have them all, is a research question, all right, which is what is the question for the research? Why are they doing the research? The theory, all right, which is their answer to the research question, what they think is going to happen. The hypothesis, was the hypothesis proven? all right, which is your findings, and then give me the results, okay, which is the overall summary of what happened, all right? Okay, and then also just make sure that all variables, materials, and steps were defined in the research. So basically the last one is, do you think that the journal operationally defined all of its variables, materials, and steps, okay? All right, the method section, make sure, again, you have what method is being used. And again, it can be more than one, all right? So it can be a survey, an observation, a case study, a test, a correlation, or it can be an experiment if it has a control group. Okay, and then you're going to identify whether it's qualitative or quantitative. Okay, now make sure those match up on your journal critique. So if it's quantitative, it has to be an experiment. So if there's a control group, it has to be an experiment and it is quantitative, okay, showing cause and effect. All right, if there is no control group, it can be any one of the other research methods. This can be qualitative. All right, what relationship, cause and effect is being studied. Okay, detailed summary of the entire procedure. So I know some people lost some information there. So that needs to be a detailed summary. So if your method section on that detailed summary is pretty short, you probably need to lengthen that a little bit because, again, you need to summarize the entire procedure. Okay, and then make sure you have your information of your subjects in the method. So all specific demographic and important and relevant information on the subjects that are mentioned in your research journal need to be identified in there, okay? Because again, that's who the research will apply to. All right, external validity, which most of you did a very good job on. The one thing that I will caution you is make sure you discuss random selection and random assignment. There were some papers that lost points there because they only talked about random selection. So you have to identify both random selection and random assignment if they were used. Okay, so random selection is, did they randomly pick their subjects? And then assignment is, if they're groups, did they randomly put them into groups? Okay, was there a representative sample? Again, most of the time that's going to be no. I think there might have been 4 or 5 journals in which the answer to that would have been yes, but all the rest of them were no. Okay, because you can't generally represent a huge population with your subjects. Can the results be applied to the general population? Again, it's going to be no. And then who specifically do the results apply to? So based on the information on the subjects, who can it apply to? And again, this one's going to be pretty narrow. Only those college students at that university taking that class, right? And then we had a huge disparity between male and female, okay? And then overall, was EV high or low? Okay, so again, you should come to the conclusion there that EV is low, all right? So make sure you check that and be able to explain why. All right, internal validity. All right, now this is the section that all of you need to check and specifically go through with your group members, because this is where most of the points were lost. And again, internal validity is tough, okay? The first thing is make sure that there's no external validity stuff in your internal validity section. So you should not be talking about subjects, random selection, random assignment, nothing that you discussed in external validity should be discussed in internal validity, okay? Internal validity is all about the internal workings of the research, okay? Was the method done well? Okay, was everything operationally defined, okay? Can it be replicated? Is it laid out in a format to where somebody else could do the research again? Okay, so on and so forth. And if they do it again, will they get the same results, all right? So first one is just, identify if there's any major problems or setbacks on the method section. If they did an experiment, if they did a case study, if they did a survey, were there any specific problems that were pretty evident, okay? Now, I'll give you a hint here. Internal validity is found in the discussion part of the journal. So if you go to your journal and you look down at discussion or summary, the researchers will actually basically answer this section for you. They're going to identify strengths and weaknesses of the research, what they would do differently, okay? And that's in that discussion or summary section at the end of the journal, okay? So they should give you a pretty good idea of this. If they don't, then it's bad research, because again, you need to be able to, again, the whole goal is that somebody else replicates the research. So at the end of the journal, you usually give ideas and thoughts about what should be done differently when somebody replicates it to kind of help the research become more valid and more reliable, okay? All right, so again, focus on the method. Were there any major problems? Was everything operationally defined? So could you follow the journal? Do you think that you could replicate it with help? Okay. And then answer, can the research be replicated? Now look also in the journal, because a lot of times the research has already been replicated. There have been previous journals done on the research topic, and you need to cite those, okay? So if you say yes to that, which those should be listed in that discussion section, you need to cite those in your paper, okay? Is the research reliable? Meaning that if they did previous research, is everybody coming to the same conclusion? Is everybody getting the same results, okay? All right, and then are the measurements, the scales, the materials used reliable? So if they used, Beck's depression inventory or whatever they used for the research, the tool, the survey, has that been used before? Is that certified? Is it, authentic? Is it actually a reliable source and research method? Okay. If you get into research in which they kind of make their own survey or own tool, for early on in the replication process, that's not going to be very reliable. Okay. People have to kind of replicate it and use it over and over again. Okay. All right. So when you answer all that, then the conclusion is, was IV high or was IV low? Okay. So again, I think with the Mozart effect, you should come to the conclusion that IV is pretty high. It's pretty solid. Okay. People are able to replicate the research. Now, early on, they weren't getting the same results, but then, as more replications came forward, the replications were all getting the same results, okay, which contradicted the original results, okay? All right, then discussion. Everybody needs to make sure that they write in the discussion and write in every section again, okay? So that's another thing some of you lost points on. Every person, every member of the group has to contribute into each section of the critique, okay? So discussion, again, everybody has to state what they thought, what they liked, what they didn't like, okay, about the journal, and kind of strengths and weaknesses of the journal, okay? And then you're going to end with your reference page, okay? All right, so make sure you go over that information and go section by section, again, because I'm going to grade it on, this needs to be pretty much a perfected paper, okay? You've got over 2 months. This is your second turn in. You should have had multiple revisions, so, make sure that, it looks good. So additional things to look at there is check all grammar, spelling, sentence structure. Some of you write at a much higher level than some of your partners or your group mates. So, help them out, help them with sentence structure, grammar. And then the big thing that I found is contradictions. So, somebody in the group would write something like the method was quantitative, and then somebody would write the method was qualitative, because you're not reading everybody's writing. So make sure you go and clean that up, because on journal critique number 2, you're going to lose a lot of points if there's contradictions in the paper. Okay. So it needs to be seamless and correct. So make sure you get that taken care of. Okay. All right. Then all you're going to do then is, once you have all of that corrected, you're going to, and again, then the next step on the journal critique number 2 would be to look at AP Psych journal critique assignment grade check notes. So I go down and I talk about each section and the APA format, what you can look for, make sure you have it, so on and so forth. Okay. And then you're going to put it in APA format. All right. So that's at the bottom of the assignment. I've got an example APA paper, which was 100% on the module. And then I've got notes over the required formatting that you need to do, and you can go back and check it. Okay. So, you got to have citations in there. They have to be internal or citations in the paper. Okay. So there's 2 ways that you do that, whether you're summarizing or quoting. You have to have headings, right? And the headings are leveled. So you have your main primary headings in the middle, and then you've got your second level headings, left justified, right level headings indented on the left margin. Okay. And again, all that's in there. And then again, I have a link to Purdue OWL, also Google. Google will help you with the APA format as well. So you can use any one of those resources there. Okay. All right. And that's all in. So basically, I just went down journal critique assignment number 2 and the notes that are on there. Okay. So make sure you kind of check that. See if I got any notes here. No, just a lot of junk email. Okay. All right. So here is kind of what I just went through as well. Back it up here. There we go. Okay. So, and this is what I'll take a picture of, and I'll put this on Twitter. Okay. And take a pic and put it on there at the end of the day. All right. So The rest of the time today, I'll have the class Zoom open. So if you have any questions, you can contact me via Zoom. And then I'll do another one of these that I'll post on a YouTube channel at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. 100 points, March 31st, needs to be pretty perfect. So spend some time on it and just make sure it's perfect. Okay. All right. And then use the resources on the module. Okay. Have a good day. Again, looks like I got 5 on here, so that's pretty good. So I hope the rest of you are sleeping in, and we'll see me at 1 o'clock. Okay. Have a good one.